Hey there, and welcome back to the Video Lady. Today we are talking about how to create an overlay for your videos in Canva. So I'm going to walk you through that process. There's a lot of different kinds of overlays that you can make, but I'm going to show you a few basic ones that I normally use in my videos, and then you can play around from there and make it as creative and interesting as you want to. One thing that you want to remember is that your overlays need to make your video more clear. So you don't want to just add stuff for the sake of adding stuff, but you do want to add things that are going to make your video stand out and make it more interesting for the person who's watching it. So let's get started here. What I usually do for these is I'm going to go in and just actually create a design. So up here on the right hand side, you can see it shows create a design, and presentation is already in there. I usually use the 16:9 because that's the correct pixels for a video, a horizontal video, and so I'm going to select that one, and then it gives me a blank screen. So the great thing about a blank screen is that you get to start from scratch, and I haven't seen any overlays on here like templates that I really like to use, so I usually start from scratch. And what I'm normally going to do first is we're going to leave this background white, because at the end of this presentation we're going to want to actually make it transparent so that the part of the video that doesn't have the overlay on it is actually gone and you can see your underlying video underneath it. So I do want to leave this white, but usually I'm going to give this a name. And a lot of times what I do for these is I make a template, and then then you can just change that template over and over again, so you don't have to recreate your overlay every single time. You can just make it one time and call it a day. So I'm going to call this overlay template up here. And then what I'm going to do is come over here to my elements over here on the left hand side, and I don't know where my little yellow thing went there, but there it is. And I'm going to start out with a shape. So if you don't already have the shapes in there, usually these come up on your screen right away, but if they don't, you can just go in and type shapes, and you can see it's also going to show up here. So if I just were to click on shapes, then it would give me all of the shapes that they have. They have quite a few different ones, so when you're experimenting, you can always experiment with some of those things. But I'm going to use the square in this case, and basically just drag it out to my document here, or my template here. And what we're going to want to do is actually make this a certain width. So I want to make it 1/3 the width of my screen, and the 1/3 the width is exactly 640. And you can see right here that when I select the edge and drag it, then it gives me this little ruler thing that tells me that the width is 644 and the height is 594. And I want to make that exactly 640. Okay, and then I'm going to make it take up the whole height of my presentation. And in this case, it turned it purple, but depending on your brand and what you are doing with your colors, you could use any kind of colors, really. I recommend that you actually have a set of branded colors that you're using for all of your video stuff, and that will make it better for you. What you can also do is, if you're interested in this, is you can find some backgrounds here. Let me see if I can get into the photos. There we go. And so for example, if you go into the photos, there's one called background. If I select background, it gives me a whole bunch of choices here that I could choose. And I have been using this kind of marble background. So I'm going to actually put that into my program here, and I'm going to just leave a tiny sliver of this green showing so that there's like a line between basically my overlay that's going to have the words on it and the part that people are seeing on the screen. And then I'm going to turn this unselect, and I'm going to go back and select this green, and I'm going to turn it to the hot pink, which is kind of my line color that I like to use. And so now you can see I have this kind of background with the marble-y template behind, and then the pink that delineates it, and then over on this right side, then that's where my video is going to go. So we don't want to put anything over here because it would get covered up. And then we have options. So you can actually create this overlay a couple of different ways. You can set it up just like this and call it good, and then you could add your title, like the words, in the program itself, or you can actually put the words into your Canva program and then download it as a picture with a transparent background, and then you can use it in your videos. But there's a couple different things to think about with that. So if you add the words in the video itself, that can be helpful. That can be a nice way to do it, because then you can edit them on the fly. You're already in the video program. If you edit your words on the Canva program, then you're going to have to go back to Canva every time you want to change something. So there's pros and cons to that, because your video editing program isn't going to necessarily have all the cool fonts that you have in Canva that you might want to use. So it just is up to you how you want to set this up. But I'm going to show you how to add text in here in case that's something that you want to do. But that's obviously something that you can make a choice about when you're ready to make your video. Okay, so we're going to come down here to text and select the text, and you can see that there's a lot of different things that are going on here. So when I select text over here, I can go ahead and add a heading, which it's going to do automatically, and then I can just move it over to where I want it to be and resize it, all of those good things. For a template, that's probably what I would do. And then I can also add my subheadings. So if I click it, it's going to just select it, and Canva is smart enough to know that, okay, this is where my words are, so it's going to go ahead and put that heading there. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and I'm going to move it down just a hair. I'm going to add now a bullet point, because most often what I'm doing here is adding bullet points, and I'm also going to add it, make it left justified. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to add a second heading. So I don't really recommend doing an overlay with bullet points if you're not going to do at least 3 bullet points. I don't think it's worth it. If you have just something to say, or you want to make a quote or something like that and put it over on the side, you could certainly do that. I would just not use the bullet point format, of course. And then you might want to try one of these other, there's some really cool fonts down here that you could actually choose from if you were going to do something like that. But you want to keep it within your branded, the family of fonts that you have branded for yourself. So you want to keep that in mind as well. But there are quite a few cool ones here that you can use if you want to. So this is a left side overlay, and what I'm going to do is now copy this page. So I'm going to just go over here on the right where you see the little plus sign, and I'm going to hit the duplicate, and now I have this exact same overlay on page 2. So what I'm going to do now, because I want to make one of these since this is a template, I'm going to also make one of these for the right side of the page, because there might be times when I want to use a right-hand template instead of a left-hand template. So I'm going to go ahead and just select all of these, and you can do that a couple of ways. On page 2, if I'm on page 2, the shortcut is to do Control-A, and that's going to select everything that's on that page. The other way that you can do it is to take your mouse, and if you just run your mouse over all of the elements that are on the page, and then it will select all of them. So when you do that, it's going to come over here, and we're going to have to make a few adjustments. You can see here. So I'm going to just pull it over like this, and I'm going to bring this over. So again, we want our width to only be 640. So it's just, sometimes it's a little hard to get it exact. There we go. Okay, 640. And then I'm going to pull it over a little bit here because we want the pink to show up on the right side, or excuse me, on the left side now. And then I'm going to realign my headings. And so to realign your headings, if you select the two elements that go in your heading, you can see as you drag over that the system kind of can see what centered looks like, and it's giving you that dotted line there that will show you how to center them. So if you get the dotted line, that means it's right in the center. So I'm going to drop them there. Another thing you can look at doing if you want to is if you come up here to position, you can also align those elements if they're selected. I'm not sure, I haven't selected right now, but let's select them. And if we say position, it'll position them at the top, middle, or bottom. And then it will give us some options there. So if we put it at the top, you can see that it actually has selected the second position. That's not really what we want. So let's just move that down. Okay, so now we have a left-hand overlay and we have a right-hand overlay. And now the last overlay that we want to make is actually going to be on the bottom third. So we're going to again duplicate our page from page 2 this time. And now we have this on page 3. But again, we want to move this information now from the side. We're going to move it down to the bottom. So I'm going to just drag this down here like this kind of, and then I'm going to actually make it bigger because this time I want it to cover the whole bottom of the screen like this. And then I'm going to take my pink one, of course, and again I'm going to leave just a little bit of a line there. And again, because this is kind of my branding style, you're obviously welcome to do it however you like to do it, but this is what mine is going to look like. So, and I am actually going to shorten this up just a tad because this is a little bit, so it's giving me a little bit of weirdness here. Let's make this a bit smaller because this is so big. So I'm going to just make this a little bit smaller, and I'm actually going to shorten this just a little bit more. So for the bottom third, I don't have a number for you like I do for the side ones where you're going to do exactly a third of the screen. On the bottom, it could be, you know, depending on your video and what is on your video, you might need to make that thinner or thicker. So I generally go with, I think this one, let's see, how wide is it now? It's 292, and the whole width is, I think, 1,000. So I mean, if you're going for 1,040 divided by 3, it's 346. So if you were going for a true bottom third, you would cover up 346. I think that's a little bit too much, to be honest with you. So I go with a little bit less here. I'm eyeballing it. There's not a specific way to do it. So for this one, for the bottom third, a lot of times I save this for like a pro tip, or if I want them to add some kind of a comment, and I'm going to say put your comments down below, then I'll sometimes also say that in the overlay. So I don't need my bullet points, so I'm going to just delete these. And so if I click on them directly, there's a couple ways I can delete them. I can obviously right click on them and delete. Another way I can do it is just to hit the delete key on my keyboard once it's selected, and that gets rid of it really easy. And then I'm going to take my heading and I'm just going to put it down here, and I'm going to make this maybe a little bit bigger actually for the bottom. So we're going to go up to 46 here. And voila, now I have 3 overlays that are already saved, that are ready to go. So all I have to do here is come in here, update my text points that I want to talk about, and add into those overlays. And of course I can make as many of these as I need to on a template. So I am going to show you now how to save this template. Now that you're all done making these 3, then if you come over here up in the right hand top corner and go to these 3 little dots, there you're going to have an option down here. So if I scroll down just a little bit here, oh, where did it go? Oh, my bad. If I go to share, there's 3 little dots here as well. And if you scroll down on those 3 little dots, you'll see an option for a template. And you want to select template, and then you can actually add this to your folders. You can add it, you can create, you know, a template folder or something like that, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to add it into my Videolady Designs and select that and just say add. And then I'm going to publish that template. So now when I want to go in and use this overlay for a particular video, all I have to do is go to that template. So we can do that now. I'm going to click out of this here so I can show you how to get to it the other way. We'll go to our home page, and then if I go to search overlay, you'll see that it comes up with the templates that have an overlay, and then you have one called your projects. And if I click on your projects, you can see right here, here's my overlay template. It comes right up. I can just select that, and it's going to automatically create a copy of that template for me that I can now edit, rename it to whatever, you know, video about whatever I'm making, and then I can share that with, or I can download that for my project that I'm going to do. So I also want to show you how we download, and if you're using Canva Pro, again, this is going to be really easy for you. Just click out of that real quick. I'm going to download all of this stuff as an image. These are going to be static images that I show here, so these are not videos themselves. If I select PNG, then I also want to make sure that I select transparent background. This is only available in the Canva Pro option. So you do have to have Canva Pro in order to use the transparent background. But this is one of the big reasons why I use Canva Pro. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I love Canva Pro, but one of them is this transparent background, which is really awesome. And then once I have that, then I can choose whether I want to download all the pages or if I'm just looking for maybe a couple pages. And then when I'm ready, I say, if I select all and then I say done, then I can just hit download and it's going to automatically download all that stuff for me. Now, another thing to remember is that in this copy, just because I made 3 pages here, doesn't mean you're stuck with 3 pages. If I want to add another left-hand overlay, all I have to do is click this little duplicate button, and now I have an additional page that I can use. So if I'm using 4 or 5 of these overlays in my project, that's still possible to do, even though this is a copy of the template. And that, my friends, is overlays in a nutshell. If you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to post them in the Facebook group. We'll talk soon.